Welcome to our YouTube video. One of the most frequent issues with push-button ignition systems is a failing or dead key fob battery. The key fob contains the transmitter that communicates with the vehicle's computer to authorize and initiate the ignition sequence. If the key fob battery is low or depleted, the system won't be able to recognize the fob, preventing the push button from working. Replacing the key fob battery, usually a small coin cell type, is often the first step in troubleshooting a non-functioning push-button ignition. Another common problem is a faulty or malfunctioning push-button switch itself. Over time, the push button can wear out, develop electrical connectivity issues, or simply break down mechanically. This can interrupt the signal transmission from the button to the vehicle's computer, resulting in the ignition not responding when pressed. In such cases, the push-button switch may need to be diagnosed and potentially replaced. Issues with the vehicle's immobilizer system can also prevent the push-button ignition from working properly. The immobilizer is an anti-theft system that verifies the key fob's identification code before allowing the engine to start. If there's a problem with the immobilizer, such as a malfunctioning control module or a mismatch between the key fob and the vehicle, the push-button ignition won't function as expected. Wiring and electrical connection problems can also be to blame for a non-working push-button ignition. The various components involved, including the key fob, push-button switch, and the vehicle's computer, are connected through a complex wiring harness. If any of these connections become loose, corroded, or damaged, it can disrupt the communication and prevent the ignition from activating when the button is pressed. In some cases, the push-button ignition system may be integrated with other vehicle systems, such as the electronic transmission or the security system. If these related systems are experiencing issues, it can also interfere with the push-button ignition's functionality. Diagnosing and resolving any underlying problems in these interconnected systems may be necessary to restore the push-button ignition operation. It's worth noting that in rare instances, a more serious issue, such as a problem with the vehicle's starter, engine control unit, or power supply, could also result in a non-functioning push-button ignition. These types of problems would require more in-depth diagnosis and repair by a qualified automotive technician. Key fob battery issues. The key fob contains a small battery, typically a coin cell type, that powers the radio frequency (RF) transmitter inside. As the battery ages and loses its charge, the key fob's ability to communicate with the vehicle's receiver diminishes. This can result in the push-button ignition not responding when pressed, as the system is unable to authenticate the key fob. Replacing the key fob battery is often the first and easiest step in troubleshooting a non-functional push-button ignition. Push-button switch failure. The push-button switch itself can wear out or develop internal electrical issues over time. The switch is responsible for sending the signal to the vehicle's computer to initiate the ignition sequence. If the switch becomes faulty, it may not be able to reliably transmit the necessary signal, preventing the push button from working. Diagnosing the push-button switch, often through electrical testing, and potentially replacing it may be required. Immobilizer system problems. The immobilizer is an electronic security system that prevents the engine from starting without the correct key fob. If the immobilizer system is not properly recognizing the key fob, it will block the push-button ignition from functioning. This can be due to issues with the immobilizer control module, faulty key fob programming, or a mismatch between the key fob and the vehicle's immobilizer system. Troubleshooting and resolving any immobilizer-related problems is crucial for restoring push-button ignition operation. Wiring and electrical connectivity issues. The push-button ignition system involves a complex network of wiring and electrical connections. Loose, corroded, or damaged wiring can interrupt the communication between the various components, such as the key fob, push-button switch, and the vehicle's computer. Thorough electrical testing, including checking for continuity, voltage, and proper grounding, may be necessary to identify and address any wiring or connection problems. Integration with other vehicle systems. In modern vehicles, the push-button ignition system is often integrated with other electronic systems, such as the transmission, security features, or power management. If these interconnected systems are experiencing issues, it can have a cascading effect on the push-button ignition's functionality. Diagnosing and resolving any underlying problems in the related vehicle systems may be required to restore the proper operation of the push-button ignition. More serious mechanical or electrical faults. In rare instances, a non-functioning push-button ignition may be indicative of a more significant mechanical or electrical problem within the vehicle. This could include issues with the starter, engine control unit, or power supply, which would require in-depth diagnosis and repair by a qualified automotive technician. By understanding these common reasons for push-button ignition issues, you can better equip yourself to identify the root cause and take the necessary steps to restore the functionality of your vehicle's push-button ignition system. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.